All right, guys, ladies, and gentlemen. Actually, I know we've gotten more female customers than we ever have before, and that's really increased every year. But anyway, Joe Duffy's picks off another nice sweep last night, 14-8 recently. We got four NBA winners. Three of them are Wise Guy plays Western Conference Interdivisional Game of the Year. And it's all at offshoreinsiders.com. Welcome to your sports betting podcast for Wednesday, January the 27th. And why don't we start out with who have been the best teams this year to bet over and under in college basketball based on a minimum of 5 lined games. Again, the rankings are based on margin of cover. If a total is 150 and 160 points are scored, that would be plus 10. If 140 points were scored, that would be minus 10. Pretty simple to follow. Long Beach State is going over 6-2 this year by an average of 11.4 points per game. Georgia Tech over 7-4-1 by 10.4 points per game. Wyoming over 9-5-1 by an average of 9.7. Citadel 5-3 over by an average of 9.6. Southern Utah over 8-3 by an average of 9.1. And Robert Morris, or when I went to school outside of Pittsburgh, we called them Bobby Moe. They've gone over 5-3 by an average of 9 points per game. So quite a few over teams this year in college basketball. How about under teams? Fordham has gone under 6 of 8 by an average of 11.1. Portland State under 7-2 by an average of 11.6 points per game. New Mexico's going under 9 of 12 this year by 11.1 points per game. They failed to reach the total. Maine under 7-2 by 9.9. Alabama State under 6-1 by 9.9 as well. Abilene Christian under 7-4. They're playing tonight by an average of 9.5 points per game. Middle Tennessee's going under 8 of 11 by an average of 9.3. And St. Bonaventure's going under 7 of 9 by an average of 9 points per game. In fact, Cal Poly's also going under by an average of 9 points per game at an 8-3 rate for the season. Get to your free pick. We actually got 2 free picks for tonight. Little bonus for you. Started out, I did a free pick in college basketball, and I also give this free pick out elsewhere, but I realized the elsewhere, where I appear at about 6:05 Eastern, and this game starts at 6 Eastern, so we're going to give you 2. One in college basketball. Miami, Florida, plus the 11 against Florida State from Joe Duffy's picks. Again, been great since January 1st in all sports at offshoreinsiders.com. Miami, really, at this point, they match up quite well defensively, and that's pretty big when you're talking about a double-digit dog. They defend the pick and roll. They also defend the rim very competently, so I don't think a blowout here is likely. Now, regression to the mean, it's true. I've said many a times it applies much more in pro sports than it does in college sports. Still, this is just a team. One team's playing above their head, one team playing below it, and I think it's an overvalued against undervalued. FSU's been shooting the lights out over the last 4 games, ranging from 48% all the way up to 70%, while Miami's shooting just 39% in their last 2. But the three-point shooting especially has been a big difference. I don't think either team's going to maintain it. Florida State's not going to be hitting at the rate they have. Miami of Florida is going to be shooting better than they are when you look at their season-to-date statistics. That says each team should regress more towards the mean. Too big of a spread. Miami of Florida keeps it close. Now in the NBA, I'm going to go with Brooklyn minus a 6.5 against Atlanta. Brooklyn's 2-4 straight up on the road, while Atlanta's 5-3 straight up at home. Yet the Nets are a big away favorite. Yeah, I'm aware they kind of made a big trade the other day, so this is a different Nets team than they've had all year. Some would say a much better team, but again, there's always extenuating circumstances when these anti-splits angles apply. But basically an anti-split angle in which we go with a big road favorite with a much worse away winning percentage than the home team as a home winning percentage is 524, 391, and 22. Also big away favorites versus a team that is fat and happy off of a win, 487, 335, and 16. Big favorites in same season revenge is Brooklyn was held to under 100 points the last time these teams met, which sets up a 835, 693, and 41 revenge angle, but even better since 2013. By the way, I do a restaurant podcast. I don't really listen to my daily podcast here because it's, based on getting stuff out as soon as possible and whatnot. My restaurant podcast, which is, by the way, Atlanta Grubber. Look up the Atlanta Grubber restaurant podcast. Great Atlanta restaurant recommendations. I find myself, I say but too much, so I need to kind of mix that up. Say however. Big away favorites versus an opponent off of a win, 487, 335, and 16. I think I just said that. The revenge. All right, yeah, road teams that are more rested are 387, 305, and 9. And I did a study. Essentially, when you have a more rested team, I think it was, about 2/3 of the time that benefits the home team. The home team is going to be more rested. And furthermore, when you do have 2 games rest, which does not apply here, but one team with 2 more games rest benefits the home team 75% of the time. But when the opposite is true, the road team does well. The more rested road team, again, 387, 305, and 9. I do think the big 3 of Harden, Durant, and Irving are starting to gel a little bit. So your free pick is to go with Brooklyn. What are the biggest line moves of the day? And again, visit Duffy Scents and DuffyGifts.com. Duffy Scents is in the fragrance. Great sponsors for the show. Charlotte in the NBA opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. They're now a 2-point underdog against Indiana. Utah opened up as a 4-point favorite in the NBA. They're now down to a 1-point favorite. Milwaukee, the rest, not really anything else significant. The other line moves are much smaller. College basketball, a little bit of one. Northwestern State is now a 1.5-point favorite against New Orleans after being a 1-point underdog. Rhode Island opened up as a 5-point favorite to LaSalle. They're now up to 7. And, that's kind of about it. But again, please visit offshoreinsiders.com for vetted sports books and the best sports picks in the world, offshoreinsiders.com.